Okay, I want to put a few things out there right up front. This is not a video I would have wanted to make. I've been kinda pushed into it. And note that you can't copyright strike this video, Brian. I'm not using any of your music or anything, or even VAC logos. And regarding this situation, the smart thing to do would be to remove the strike, with the understanding that I will take the video that got the strike down myself afterwards. I don't even want it up anymore. This experience has drained the goodwill that went into that video. I repeat, if you remove the strike, I will take that video down myself. I've already offered that multiple times, but here I am offering it again. It would have been smarter to do it sooner, of course. Well, it would have been best to not have issued a strike in the first place, but you know what I mean. On to the story. I'll start at the beginning and make sure everyone's up to speed. Velvet Acid Christ is an electro-industrial, and other genres, artist/band that I had been a huge fan of since I was 14 years old. He/they were significant in my life. I made a video talking about that, as well as a bit of my musical and political journey, and some old socialist tracks from VAC. It was completely positive towards VAC. It used clips of some of their songs, but not full tracks. Parts of MSI songs and part of a Manson track were also included, but they didn't issue strikes, of course. A nice comrade shared the video on VAC's Facebook page, which I still think was nice and cool of them to do despite the outcome. It's not their fault at all. Bryan Erickson, the main guy behind VAC, watched and commented on it soon after. He wrote that he used to be a socialist, but now advocates for what he called capitalism with a socialistic belt. In another comment, he said something like, "Thanks for this though, cool." I don't have a screenshot of this comment, as I believe he deleted it before I took the screenshots. I was happy. Brian commented on it and apparently liked it. His political position wasn't a big deal to me, although I strongly believe in socialism. I even had a bit of a fanboy moment. Cool. But then, things changed. Sometime later, he posted a set of new comments, and it seems this was when he deleted that positive comment. He wrote, quote, "Sorry, but I am not a commie. I have changed and see why and how it will never work. People are selfish. Every form of communism was a joke and failed, and brought misery and bloodshed for nothing in the end." Unquote. I already knew he wasn't, and he had already mentioned that first part. I'll respond to some of his comments at the end of this video. He posted a couple replies to his comment before I responded as well. He wrote, quote, "In Russia they went after the farmers and killed and butchered them. They were working class but owned land. This is the horror that would happen in the USA if this happened. The idea of a violent revolution, for the working class to decide everything, is very scary. Go read some history. It's horrid." Unquote. In his second reply, he said, quote, "I am a unionist. I do think workers should have bargaining power, but for them to control everything? No, 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 no. I like my stuff." Unquote. After this comment of his, and the one mentioned next, is when I replied to this thread. I responded to the claim of mass slaughter of farmers and explained that socialists want to seize private property, not personal property, among other things, which is a pretty basic point of knowledge in this area. Although pushing back on some things, I was nice and civil about it. In fact, I was nice and civil with him the whole time. Some hours later, before I had even seen his other newer comments, he wrote, quote, "Please take this video down or I will copyright strike it." Unquote. I was taken aback. The video was completely positive towards him and his music, and was basically free advertising for VAC, although that was not the purpose of the video. I asked why he wanted it taken down, and asked if he was afraid of people thinking he was a communist, or if he was maybe ashamed of his older songs. I wrote, quote, "If that's really what you want, I guess I will, but all due respect, it seems kinda weird." Unquote. In an edit, I added, "I wasn't trying to cause any problems, I'm a huge fan of yours." Unfortunately, It seems that I didn't take screenshots of the rest of this thread, which is a real shame, as they're important. I'm sure at least a couple people saw the comments, but yeah. Although it's just my word, I assure you that what I'm going to convey is true. I am/was a big fan of VAC and wouldn't make this up. He responded with something like, "It's the he's poor shit. Unflattering." I remember the spelling of unflattering. This is an allusion to my saying that he doesn't have a whole lot of money in the video, which I partially said to try to get people to maybe financially support VAC. I told him I could cut that part out, and asked him if he wanted anything else cut out. He answered with something like, "Also, I'm not famous," which is also not true. I remember that spelling of which. Mentioning these errors is not to make fun of Bryan, by the way, but to lend a little more credence to what I'm saying here. I had said that he wasn't famous, again, partially for the aforementioned reasons. So, I cut out the parts of the video that Bryan wanted out. After doing so, I replied with something like, "Okay, it's been done." After that, he deleted all of his comments. At that point, I thought, okay, this didn't really go how I might have liked, but it turned out alright. The parts Bryan said he took issue with had been removed from the video. I, reasonably, figured everything was good, and it should have been. But I was wrong. Something like 10 or so days after I removed part of the video, he issued a copyright strike on that video. So the video was taken down, and I have a strike on my channel. If I get 2 more strikes, this channel could be terminated. Wow. I found out a while after getting the strike that he had actually issued or requested the strike sooner than that. I apparently would have had a period of a week or so to take the video down without getting a strike. As I said, I didn't even see that email until a good bit after I got the strike. I don't really check that email much, as it's not my main email. So it was more like a few days after his last comments and me cutting out part of the video that he actually issued or requested the takedown/strike, but it's still a dick move, and still shouldn't have been done at all. After getting the strike, I tried to appeal to him with a comment from my personal account on one of his videos on his channel, but he either removed it or shadow banned me. I later left another comment on one of his videos, this time from the ICL account. It wasn't deleted this time, but it also hasn't been responded to. At least a couple of other people have commented on his videos for the same reason. I've made multiple community tab posts about the situation, trying to appeal to him and resolve it, including one where I tagged Bryan. But he has continued ignoring things, apparently insistent on keeping the strike on my channel, which has pushed me into making this video. As some people have inferred, it does seem like he did this because I'm a socialist. What other reasons are there? This is incredibly silly and you know it, Bryan. Remove the strike. I figured I might as well respond more to some of the comments, although that's not really the point of this video. He wrote, quote, "Sorry, but I am not a commie. I have changed and see why and how it will never work. People are selfish. Every form of communism was a joke and failed, and brought misery and bloodshed for nothing in the end." Unquote. I question whether he ever actually was one in the first place, to be honest. These claims are so easy to refute or debunk. He was straight up on some PragerU type thinking. The whole "my human nature" thing, for example, as if there's some immutable human nature, and the way that some people behave under capitalism, which has only been around for a small fraction of humanity's existence, dictates what it is for all time, regardless of material conditions. I could go into more detail on these things, but that's not really what this video is about, and many of you probably know what BS it is. Claiming communism has always failed is incorrect and pretty ironic. It, for one thing, for instance, took the former Russian Empire from a very backwards, semi-feudal, largely agrarian state to an industrialized world power, improving the lives of the millions of Soviet citizens in tons of ways along the way. And it did so pretty rapidly. They were even the first country to reach space. How's capitalism doing, by the way? Over half of the planet lives in poverty. And that's probably a conservative estimate. And the problems of capitalism are built right in. They're inherent. Regular crises, recessions and depressions, boom and bust cycles, etc. And for instance, even most people in the US wouldn't be able to afford an emergency $400 charge. Not to mention that the capitalist class dominates and controls everything. But apparently Bryan's actually fine with that? Or at least, that's how it is going by what he said. He wrote, quote, "In Russia they went after the farmers and killed and butchered them. There were working class but owned land. This is the horror that would happen in the USA if this happened. The idea of a violent revolution for the working class to decide everything is very scary. Go read some history. It's horrid." Unquote. This is complete nonsense, for a couple reasons. They didn't go after the farmers and kill and butcher them. Also, even a normal peasant wouldn't have been working class, i.e. proletarian. Ordinary peasants were one of the working classes, but not working class. This isn't as big of a deal, though, pretty minor in the scheme of things. But he was probably thinking of the kulaks, who were rich peasants that exploited the ordinary peasants. They were like the capitalists of the countryside. And while the Bolsheviks did endeavor to liquidate the kulaks as a class, they didn't just mass kill them or something. Their goal was to proletarianize them, or for them to become normal peasants, to take away their privilege and position. His fear of the working class deciding things speaks volumes, too. And that attitude was also overtly expressed in the comment he posted after this one. It's worth noting that in an advanced capitalist country around the level of the US, around 90% plus of people are working class. Also, we don't really have peasants. He's afraid of the people deciding things. Apparently, he thinks only capitalists should make decisions. And it's kind of funny that he thinks I haven't heard or seen or read all of that dishonest bourgeois propaganda as well. We've all heard it. Go read some history. Maybe he should take his own advice on that one. And no, full-on dishonest anti-communist propaganda doesn't count. There's also the fact that the US state is one of the most aggressive and violent of all time, having committed numerous crimes at home and abroad, and that Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, by the way, were also capitalist states. So what would that mean if we applied his own logic to capitalism? Bryan used to see and acknowledge at least some of these problems, as his older music attests.